Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another production of Elk Grove Television Sports. I'm Kyle Smith, alongside Abby DeSalvo for the Conant Cougars, taking on the Elk Grove Grenadiers tonight. And Abby, well, it hasn't been the season that Elk Grove would like. They're 0-8, and they've struggled. They've only scored an average of 1 goal in their last 3 games.
Yeah, it's really cool that this is only their third year in the MSL, but they're starting off real good.
For Conant, they're 9-8, and they're led by a couple of goal scorers, including Olivia Tedness. And Abby, she'll be playing her college hockey next year. She's a double sport player in hockey and lacrosse. She'll be playing her college hockey next year at Salem State. Olivia Tedness alongside Mia Withers and others for this Conant team. 33 goals for Tedness this year, 34 for Withers. And their best player, arguably, Abby, is Lauren Fricky. 26 goals, 21 assists. How important is it to have that player? Not only can she score goals, but also set up her teammates as well.
Assists are really important, and being a good passer makes you an overall good lacrosse player. So that's awesome that she has a large amount of goals and a large amount of assists as well. So that just makes her an overall good lacrosse player.
For Elk Grove, they are 0-8, and they've only scored 1 goal in their last 3 games, but they have played some decent lacrosse this season, Abby. They only lost by 10 to Barrington. Like you said, it's a newer program, so they're playing some powerhouses in the conference, including Conant tonight. And they only lost by 8 to Rolling Meadows. They had a large amount of goals scored in that one, 7, but they also gave up 15. The keys to victory for Elk Grove, well, they haven't won all year, but for them to win, arguably they have to give up less than 10 goals, right?
Yes.
For Conant, they're looking to go to 10-8 on the season. Now, for Elk Grove, there's a lot of different players that can score for the Conant Cougars. Is there one player in particular they're looking to shut down, or just shut down the entire offense, get them out of their rhythm?
If there is a player that has a lot of goals under her belt, they're probably going to look to shut her down. I'm not sure who that is, but they'll probably look to either double team that person, that girl that has the most goals, to try to prevent that from happening.
It's a smaller net in lacrosse, so you really want to get that, I like to say, 90-degree shot.
Yeah.
Right in front. You don't want that 45-degree angle or less shot. For Elk Grove, how do they try to contain that and try to have Conant shoot from a 60-degree or lesser shot?
They'll definitely push up on the restraining line to try to get them to go towards the outside more. They'll try to push the ball also behind the net and keep it back there.
Here comes the opening draw, something that Elk Grove has struggled with this year. Taking it will be Delaney Flynn. It is senior night. It's a little windy, but overcast and not too cold. It's won by Elk Grove. Up in the air it goes. Ground ball won by the Grenadiers, and here comes Flynn after the draw was won by the Grenadiers briefly. Now here comes the Conant Cougars. Leading the attack right now is 22, losing it briefly, then getting it back. Lauren Fricky, the leader on assists on the team with 21, leading the attack as she gets it back. Double team, she breaks through it, and what is the call, Abby?
Looks like Elk Grove was in the hemisphere of a Conant player.
So we'll have a penalty shot coming up. Right into the net. Lauren Fricky scores. 1-0 Conant. Not the start that Elk Grove wanted on senior night. And like we said, Abby, they're trying to get Conant to score less than 10 tonight. If Conant scores 10 or more, probably going to be a Cougar victory. Not a great start right now for the Grenadiers. Taking the draw. It'll be Young, and she'll be opposed by Flynn. It's a one-women officiating crew tonight, as Elk Grove, a little staggered on offense. Up in the air it goes, still a loose ball, and the ground ball is officially won by the Cougars. Lauren Fricky, Abby, she's all over the field right now, creating havoc for this Elk Grove defense.
For sure. She's gotten the ball, the draw ball, the last 2 times. It's awesome.
Ground ball, and it's won again by Fricky. She is dominating the ground ball percentage right now. 1-0 Cougars. Fricky had a clean avenue to the net, and she scored on the one hopper past the netminder. Shot, and the netminder for Elk Grove didn't see it right away, but at the last second she put her stick in front of it and got a good piece of it. Out near the 10-yard line, they placed the net at the 5. So when I say she's at the 10, it means she's 5 yards away from the net. Over to Puyat. Taking her time. Flynn on defense. Gets past Flynn. Great save by the netminder in DeNova. Now out behind the net. Played well by Conant as it's passed over to Medema. Medema taking her time. Now over to Fricky. This Conant offense right now, DeSalva, it's very nonchalant. We see some walking as well. Loose ball. Not the intended shot that she wanted. And it was easily saved by the netminder and Haley Stapleton. Not a great pass, though, as a ground ball past the 30. And it finds its way out of bounds. It'll be Conant ball. What's it going to take for Elk Grove to try to steal the passes? Right now, everything is on target for Conant, and Elk Grove really not getting in the way of those passing lanes right now.
Looks like the Elk Grove girls aren't matching up too quickly. I also don't hear a lot of talking between them, so maybe if they start talking a little bit more, that can help.
Trying to do the wraparound. She gets in front and scores! The wraparound goal, you don't see it that often in lacrosse, but a great goal right out in front. And the Cougars lead 2-0. That time scoring is 42. Actually, there might be 48. That would be Taiwo Suaru.
Number 48.
And it was indeed 48, Taiwo Suaru. 2-0 score as Suaru now has 10 goals on the year. Fricky now with 27. Loose ball. Losing the stick. And Fricky gets it again. She's just that all-around player, Abby. I mean, she'll score, but she can do everything, including getting those much-needed ground balls.
For sure, and she moves quick down the field after she grabs it, too.
Fakes the pass, trying to do the spinorama action, but read well by the Elk Grove defense. Delaney Flynn. She has a pretty decent wingspan, getting in the front of Fricky out in front. Went past the stick that time of Feliciano. As it's blown dead by the only official tonight. 2-0 score. We're live on all platforms except for Facebook tonight, including Twitter. Another chance for Fricky. Fakes the shot. Delivered it over to Payat, and now a loose ball picked up by Elk Grove. But there was Suaru to get it, and then passing it over that time to Fricky. Out in front, trying to get it on net, and way wide. But good hustle that time by the Conant Cougars. As Suaru will set it up behind the netminder. Right now in Stapleton. Out in front, it's 3-0 Cougars. Great setup by Taiwo Suaru. A goal and an assist tonight. Talk about that setup, Abby, because that was beautiful.
That was amazing cut and amazing look behind the net. I almost didn't even see her cut. That was really quick, and that was awesome that she saw it right away.
So that makes it 3-0 in favor of the Cougars, and the coaching staff for Elk Grove has seen enough. They call a timeout. 3-0 Cougars. Well, we talked about it. We knew going in it was going to be a tough task for the Grenadiers. 0-8. The boys team has struggled as well. It's a new program for both teams. But you'd like to see a little bit more sense of urgency from the defense for the Elk Grove Grenadiers. What do you think they're talking about in the timeout right now, Ms. DeSalvo?
Like I said earlier, I think that their coach might tell them to speak up more and communicate with each other. That's really important in lacrosse. cuts are really quick, like what just happened to their defense before they got scored on. You got to talk when you see someone cutting into the middle.
And what's it going to take to try to get some steals? I mean, we've seen the ball in Elk Grove's defensive area pretty much this entire match thus far.
It looks to me like Elk Grove's really pushing Conant out super far. Maybe if they stand back and watch how the Cougars are passing, it might let them get an idea of when they could push up and go in for a cut or for a steal.
Realistically, what are we expecting from the Elk Grove Grenadiers? You obviously want to win, but they are 0-8 for a reason. So we're talking about baby steps with this program. Are we looking for 3 or more goals scored tonight? Are we trying to keep them under 10? What's kind of the Grenadiers' standpoint during this timeout, already trailing 3-0 with 20:27 remaining in the first half?
I think for sure try to keep the Cougars under 10. I think they kept the team that they played the other day under 10, Barrington. So if they can do that again, that would be a really big step for them.
Yeah, it was surprising. They only lost 10-0 to Barrington, so you think the program's going in the right direction. Then we saw some bad losses their last couple of games, including a 20-0 beatdown to one of Conant's rivals, Fremd. So Fremd, a good program, but not usually as good as Barrington. So we've seen some good from Elk Grove. We've seen some bad. There's definitely been some learning curves, so to speak, for this Elk Grove program. It'll be Abby Springer, as she will try to win the draw. They have not won one yet, has the Grenadiers. Usually it's Flynn, but they're going to change things up coming out of the timeout. Springer will take it. Opposing was Young, who's taken most of the draws. There's Fricky again. But finally, a ground ball won by Flynn. And Elk Grove, with a sense of urgency on offense, first time all night that we've seen them on the offensive end. Flynn. Loose ball, as she was tied up well that time by Medema, but over behind the net as it's sent over to Gladschuk. Gladschuk guarded closely, spin around the move. Guarded closely by Weishar, and the double team comes. 3 defenders around, slow moving pass, now out behind the net. At the 15-yard line, remember the net is placed at the 5. Almost knocked into the official that time. Double team comes, trying to break through. Loose ball, ground ball. Elk Grove remains in possession. Now keeping it as Springer. Having some trouble with passing, Abby. What can they work on to try to get those passes off?
Seems like nobody has urgency, like we were talking about before, to try to help their teammate out when they're stuck. So hopefully they can talk about that too in the next timeout or at halftime and figure that out.
Got to be louder and quicker on the communication channels.
For sure.
Probably more succinct, like pass, 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 or maybe make it more even succinct, like PPP.
Yep.
P, of course, meaning pass. As that's delivered out to midfield. Trying to get it to Suaru, pass her stick, picked up by the Grenadiers. Might have been a penalty, no call, as it was tapped on the head that time of Feliciano. Here comes Elk Grove. As right now with it is Baialas. Baialas playing it at the 10. Don't see a lot of screens in Lacrosse, Abby, but a little bit of screen action by the Grenadiers. Hey, it works in basketball. Why not try it in Lacrosse?
Right.
Big time defensive play, but it's blown down by the lone official. Are they going to call slashing here?
Looked like it.
This is where speed is so important in the game of lacrosse, when you've got that 5 meters of free area at the goalie. Loose ball. Ball possession so important in the game of lacrosse. Try to get it on net. Another try, and the shutout remains for the Conant Cougars. Golden chance missed for the Grenadiers. Now comes Conant. Suaru. Didn't get that pass. It seemed like it was okay, though, Abby. Looks like Suaru should have had that one.
Yeah.
Right at the goal, and she scores again! She wasn't my pick to click, but Suaru, now with 2 goals and an assist. Good goal there, partner, but for Elk Grove, you would like to see a little bit more effort on defense. She kind of just slid her way past the D and got that ball into the net.
At the restraining line, it looked like the Conant player was behind the Elk Grove players. You never want to let the opposing team get behind you at the restraining line because any long pass, it's game over.
So it's now 4-0 lead for Conant. This is a Conant team looking to go 10-8. Their record pretty much is what you would expect. They haven't really gone on any big winning streaks or losing streaks. They'll win 2 here, lose 2 in a row there. They're 9-8, and it's pretty self-explanatory why they're 9-8. Assuming that nothing crazy happens tonight, it'll be a 10-8 record for Conant. Full head of steam that time is Pouliot. She is a senior along with many other players on this team. Shot! And Stapleton got a piece of it, loose ball, and she'll clean it up and reset behind the net. Then just drops it off. So Elk Grove, they're still deep in their own territory. They got to get it out. Heading up with it is Tanchova. And loose ball picked up briefly by the Conant Cougars. Stanton, one of the best defenders in the state, but it'll be Elk Grove ball. Well, no such thing as a perfect lacrosse game, Abby. Something that Conant's going to have to work on these better teams. Got to avoid slashing, as we've seen multiple slashing calls in the first 10 minutes of action.
Conant has been doing a pretty good job of doing it legally, but there's been a lot of slashing too. It looks like the defense for Conant is doing the slashing here.
Picked up by the Cougars. A lot of speed by this Conant team, and it shows on this possession. Now they'll slow it down. Good pass, should have been caught, and might be tripping against the Grenadiers. What was your most ideal playing conditions as a lacrosse player? Did you like it really hot? As there's another goal for Conant. Fricky scores. It's now 5-0. But what was your favorite field conditions? Did you like it overcast like today? Did you like it really hot? Or were you one of those weird people that likes it 30 degrees and windy?
Yeah, definitely not windy or cold. That's the worst. The overcast is nice because sometimes when these games are around like 5:30, 6 p.m. or even 7, it's like when the sun's setting.
Yeah.
It's super hard to see.
They put on the lights briefly. Vision really isn't that much of a problem tonight. There's no rain, no lightning, just a little overcast and muggy. Taking the draw will be Catherine Carpenter as she's opposed by Young. Payat takes it. For Conant, they'd love to have the shutout, Abby, but in a game like this, when you know that you're so much more talented than the other team, do you consider using your backup in the second half just to get them reps, to get them ready for the playoffs if they're needed?
Yeah, for sure. That's what we would do.
It's now 6-0 for Conant. And they're getting the subs a little warmed on the bench.
That's another goal for Conant.
As Conant's going to go to the bench.
Lauren Fricky.
2 subs coming in. We've seen some good from this Elk Grove program. They lost 16-4 to Schaumburg, 15-7 to Rolling Meadows, and then they've had some bad. They lost 19-1 to Palatine, 20-1 to Hershey, 20-1 to Prospect, and a 20-0 shutout defeat to the Fremd Vikings. And a little bit of the bad today. It's already 6-0 with 15:31 remaining in the first half. A couple more goals and we'll probably see Fricky and Tedness take a seat. Loose ball. And it's going to be picked up by Carpenter. She's triple teamed. And she breaks through it. How about that? Loose ball picked up by Flynn. And the double comes. Abby, it seems like the Grenadiers are having trouble with spacing and spreading out. How can they work on that?
For sure. At least what we would do, we would know what lane we were running down before. So either the left, middle, or right lane. It doesn't seem like they have like pre-established directions of where they're running to. So maybe if they come up with a plan before.
Going after the ball, that's legal. No slash because it was right at the basket. And now picked up by Stanton. Not much of a goal scorer, Stanton is. Known for her stifling defense. Help comes on the rotation. Stanton thought about the shot. And instead it's stolen away by the Grenadiers. Victoria Gladchuk on the defense. We've also seen her behind the net, the opposing netminder's net, and Stephanie Rossi. And you know some of the coaches on this Conant team. You played lacrosse with them at Illinois State.
Yep, Lex Alcantara, one of my best friends too, grew up with her. She's super knowledgeable about the sport, and she's a good player too, so Conant's really lucky to have her.
She's an English teacher at Bolingbrook High School. Former goaltender that played at ISU. She loves the sport so much, she doesn't mind that she's a volunteer coach because the sport has given her so much, she wants to bring it back to the younger generation. Another cool tidbit about this Conant team, his daughter, Eric Jacobson, the head coach for Conant, his daughter Samantha is in her third year as a volunteer assistant for the Conant Cougars. We got an injury timeout. You hate to see it. Slow to get up is Riley Foley, the senior midfielder. Not sure if it's the knee or the ankle. On the year, Riley Foley, the senior, with 2 goals.
Looks like it might be the knee.
It's a pretty deep team, this Conant team is, assuming that Riley Foley's day is over. They've got Young, Budaka, who has not scored this year, Covert, and Bormas to kind of rotate in. And we're probably going to see them play anyways, as Tedness, Medema, their day will most likely be over soon once it gets to be 10-0. But right now for Riley Foley, you just hope the best for her, that it's not a long-term knee issue. She's able to move it, which is a good sign. If it were like an ACL or something, she'd be in so much pain that they couldn't even move the knee. Same thing with a meniscus. Might just be a sprain. So for people that aren't familiar with For people that aren't familiar with the game of lacrosse, how does it work in terms of subbing in and subbing out for injuries? As Riley Foley will go to the cart, but what I was asking you is, in terms of when you want to sub in and sub out for injury timeouts like this, if Riley wanted to get back into the game, how would that work?
She would probably the person of the same, like probably another senior would probably sub in for her, just because it is so early in the game right now. It doesn't look. Oh, it looks like the whole team basically is surrounding her right now, though. So I wonder who's gonna go in for her. Looks like a defense player might be subbing in for her, so she'll be able to cross the restraining line when she goes in.
Weischer goes in for Foley. Over to Fricky. It's 6-0 Cougars. Not only that, we've very rarely seen Elk Grove being on the attacking end. Played right now by Carpenter, out behind the net. The double comes and stolen away, but it's going to be a penalty against the Elk Grove Grenadiers. The Conant Cougars. Delivering it over to Feliciano. Good job getting that pass as it one-hopped off the turf. Loose ball picked up by Lazic. As Lazic will send it over to Fricky. The all-encompassing player leading the team in assists, looking for the goal. Off the crossbar, loose ball picked up by the Cougars. They'll try it again. Gets past the D, shot and a goal! Mia Withers, it's 7-0 Conant. Mia Withers leads the team in goals, and we saw it on that play, partner. Fricky couldn't get it done, but Withers, the leading goal scorer, shows why on that play.
For sure, when that ball bounces off the bar like that and everyone's in scrambles, doesn't know where it is, looked like Withers picked it up really quick and tracked it, and while everyone was still figuring out where the ball was, she went in there and scored.
So 7-0 lead for Conant. We haven't heard a lot of Tedness tonight. She's the double sport athlete. She'll be playing her college hockey at Salem State. Loose ball. The other issue is there's always 3 Cougar players when there's a Grenadier player around it, which is not good probability odds. That's something the Grenadiers have to work on. Ground balls, not just one player. Get 2 or 3 players in it to combat what the Cougars are doing. Over to Alvarado, trying to break through the D. Fricky was there for the rotation help. Ground ball picked up by Springer. A lot of running with the ball, partner, not a lot of passing. You'd like to see some more quick passing if you're the Grenadiers. Trying to set it up in front. And what's the call here, Abby?
Looked like a shove maybe in the back.
Good things were happening for Elk Grove on that possession, but they can't finish. And Stephanie Rossi, we'll see if she ends up as the goalie. See if Conant and Eric Jacobson want to try the backup. Get their backup some reps, get them ready for the state tournament. There's only a couple more weeks of regular season lacrosse before we get to the state playoffs. Breakaway coming up for the Cougars. It's a 2-on-0. Withers shot. Oh, what a save by Stapleton. Well, it hasn't been Stapleton's best game, Abby, but she saved the best for last. The save on the breakaway.
Yeah, the goalie was all by herself, too. That's very impressive.
And it was a 2-on-0, so Withers could have faked the shot and, pass it off for the one-time chance. Shot in the net. There's the one-timer. Great setup by Withers. She doesn't just score goals, folks. She also sets up her teammates. Medema, it's 8-0 in favor of the Conant Cougars.
Conant, number 15, Mackenzie Medema.
Well, it's almost to that 10-goal margin that we were worried about for Elk Grove. A couple more goals, don't see a win happening for the Grenadiers tonight. Got to work on the defense, though. Can't give up breakaways. That was no bueno. 2-on-0. That gave Cougars a wide-open area at the net. Out in front, loose ball. Picked up by Conant. There's Palyat. She's been pretty much shut down tonight. Medema. Past the D, shot, big-time save by Stapleton. Loose ball picked up by the Conant Cougars. Going after now is Palyat. As Palyat has it. Medema on her left. as the official blows it dead. She'll have a couple meters of free reign to run. Instead, kicks it back out, that time to Payat. Payat fakes the shot. Spinorama. Payat! And another slash. Inch by inch as the Cougars get closer to the goal. Payat, the senior, actually listed as a defender on the roster. Payat shoots and scores! 9-0.
Elk Grove's goalie's been doing a good job of stopping the low shot, so it looks like Julia just shot it a little bit higher and got her on that one.
How tough is it to play goalie at this level? You know, you look at box scores in a lacrosse game, and you'll see the goalie only has a 48% save percentage, and compared to hockey, you'll see 90 to 91 percentage. So how much more difficult is it to play goalie in lacrosse versus hockey?
I would never get in a lacrosse goalie. It hurts when you get hit with those balls, and a lot of girls can throw it pretty hard because they want it to go in, so it's hard. And they just don't get enough credit that they deserve, the lacrosse goalies.
Yeah, lacrosse just one of those interesting sports, kind of like baseball. You know, baseball, if you hit 300, you're a Hall of Fame hitter. So 7 times out of 10 you fail. For a lacrosse goalie, only 48% of the time you're successful, but you're a good goalie.
Yep.
Kind of a cool little tidbit about lacrosse and baseball. But, you know, when you're a hockey goalie, if you're saving less than 85%,
Looks bad luck.
then you're sent back down to the minors. So just completely different types of goaltending. And then in soccer, you want that save percentage to be like 98%. Good save that time by Stapleton. 9-0 lead. Well, we knew it was going to be a tough task for the Grenadiers. You'd like to see a little bit better in terms of the passing. I think ideally for Elk Grove, maybe you want a final score of like 15-3. At least you get above that 2-goal threshold of trying to score. Only been scoring 1 goal a game their last 3 matches. Almost lost the ball, got it back. Out behind the net to Payat. Payat taking control on offense. Medema actually, then sends it over, left-hand style. Loose ball on the turf. Picked up by the Cougars. At the 20-yard line, 15 yards from the net. Clean shot on net. And the Grenadiers able to get a piece of that at the last second to help out their netminder in Stapleton. As they'll backtrack back to the D. Double team comes. And she might have stepped out. Nope. It's a call against the Cougars.
Might have been an illegal check.
Carpenter sends it down the lacrosse field. As the Cougars are trying to sub in quick, but they can't get her in. They'll have to sub in at the next whistle, and there's the whistle. Suaru back into the game. So they took out Suaru on the Riley Foley injury timeout, and then Suaru back in on the substitution. That was a hard hit. And it was actually called the Grenadiers. Might have led with the stick to avoid the check, which is illegal, and it's now Cougars' ball. Over to Young. Young taking her time.
The defense players are also walking, too.
They got to be tired. They've just been on defense the entire game. And that's a somewhat of a break for Elk Grove, actually, on the call, as she would have had a clean avenue to the net. It's still a clean avenue, but she was about to shoot it as the whistle was blown. Didn't even get it on net. Tried to go top shelf on the hop, and it missed the crossbar entirely, but they have 2 women back as the last line of defense, and it will remain with the Cougars. Loose ball was a slash, though. Just this weird spring weather we've had. It was 75 degrees, then 35. Then we get rainouts. Then it doesn't rain for a couple of days at a time. It was raining all night last night. Now it's kind of like perfect lacrosse weather right now.
Yes.
Out in front, shot. Very wide. It will remain with the Cougars, though. Suaru will play it. Suaru, wraparound try. Instead, she'll take her time out in front of the net. You know, the box score wouldn't say her importance, but I'm impressed by what I've seen from Taiwu Suaru. Setting up her teammates, the wraparound tries. It's hard to score that wraparound in lacrosse, but she can get it done. She's got a lot of athleticism. Mm-hmm. For the South Grove program, some silver linings. They've kept Tedness in check. As that shot's into the back of the net, it's 10-0 in favor of the Conant Cougars. Got a friendly roll off the post into the back of the net. There's that 10-goal threshold we were talking about for the Grenadiers to avoid. They don't avoid it, and they're going to have to score 10 unanswered to at least tie this one up.
Lacrosse games flip back and forth all the time, so you never know.
Well, I haven't seen the fat lady yet, so it could be an Elk Grove win. First things first, you got to score once. You can't score 10 goals at a time. You can only score 1 at a time.
Nope.
It can happen, though. And crazy comebacks always happen. Mm-hmm. I think about... Here's a really interesting story for you. So the Seattle Mariners tied the all-time regular season win mark during the 2001 season. They won 116 games. They actually tied the Chicago Cubs of all the teams. The 1906 Cubs won 116 games. But they would have won 117 if they hadn't blown a 12-0 lead.
Wow.
They would have had the all-time record. They lost after leading 12-0 against the Cleveland Indians. They were called the Indians at the time. Never say never in a sporting event. Would have been kind of cool to have the all-time record, but to this day, the Mariners have the same amount of regular season wins as the Cubbies. If you ask Lou Piniella, would he be happy that they blew that 12-0 lead? Probably not. And am I saying that this game is like the 2001 Indians versus Mariners game? No, but crazier things have happened in the history of sports.
Exactly.
You ever been part of a crazy comeback, both on the receiving or the bad end of it?
I think when I played in high school, it was a lot of super close games, and it would just be going back and forth, and then whoever scores that last goal, it's like, that's what's crazy.
Another goal for the Conant Cougars, as we'll probably see the sub soon. 11-0. This is impressive. You know, you look at the schedule for Conant. It's been a topsy-turvy year. They're second place in the division at 6-3, but they have some solid wins. Glenbrook North 11-7. They beat Prospect 98. That's a big rivalry game. They really destroyed Buffalo Grove 21-5, but then you have some kind of bad losses. Crystal Lake Central, they lost 13-5. A bad loss, 18-7 to Hershey. So in a season like this, Abby, for Conant, the ups and downs that we've seen, today is the ups. Tomorrow might be the downs. When you're the coaching staff, when you're Eric Jacobson and this coaching staff for Conant, what are you telling the players to try to get through this topsy-turvy year?
Jacobson's an awesome coach. I love him. He really expects the most out of all of his players. He doesn't doubt anyone either, so I know that when they did have those losses, he always says, we'll get it next time. So
nobody's perfect except for the 72 Dolphins. I think it's kind of ironic how the only undefeated team in sports, well, there's been others, but the one we think of the most, the 72 Dolphins, their defense was known as the no-name defense. So that was their nickname. So they were undefeated, but their nickname was we don't know anybody on their defense.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was
that's
like
funny.
So they were undefeated because nobody on their team mattered more than the entire team. The entire team concept, the no-name defense. And that was also kind of like coined in the media because like nobody was believing in this Dolphins team.
Gotcha.
And their defense kept like not giving up points game after game, but nobody was caring about it because they're like, oh, it's a flash in the pan. The Dolphins will come back there. So they got the nickname, the no-name defense.
That's a tough name to have.
Didn't get the respect, but the only undefeated team in NFL history. Although I do consider that Patriots team undefeated because they had to play more games than the 72 Dolphins. But technically, no, they did not finish the year undefeated because they did lose the Super Bowl to Eli Manning's Giants. But they had to play more games than the Dolphins, so you have to factor that in. Out in front, 11-0 lead for Conant if you're just joining us. It's been all Cougars. But some unlikely names, including Taiwo Suaru, has really led the game tonight for the Conant Cougars. Stapleton lost it, got it back. Oh no, a breakaway try for Conant, shot in the net! Stapleton, one of her few mistakes. And it's 12-0 in favor of Conant. Missed a salvo. What happened there to Stapleton?
That's the worst. I feel for the goalie. That's the least thing that you want to happen. She looks pretty upset. She was shaking her head. Stapleton looked like she just saw where the goalie was going to throw the ball and went in there real quick. And the poor goalie has so much gear on. I think she's just faster than her and got in front of her and got to score.
It's 12-0 in favor of the Cougars. One of the few mistakes that Stapleton, the goalie, made on that play, and Conant made them pay. It's been impressive for the Cougars. If you're wondering, the most goals they've scored this year, 21 against Buffalo Grove. But we're getting close to the playoffs, so I don't see you're going to see that kind of onslaught tonight as we get closer to the playoffs. After tonight, they play Lake Zurich on May 11th at Naperville Central, and that's it. Then it's time for the playoffs. So for Conant, probably see Tedness and the other players, Withers, go to the bench as they put in the subs. You never know in the state playoffs when those subs are going to have to play meaningful minutes. We already saw Riley Foley go down. The intensity just goes up that much more in a playoff game, so Foley goes down, and not necessarily a meaningless game, but not as much an important game as a playoff game. So if Foley can go down in a game like this, who knows what would happen in a playoff game. So this will be meaningful minutes for those subs to come in and see what they can do in case they're needed in the state playoffs.
So much better to figure it out under less pressure than scrambling in an important playoff game.
It's always good to have that deep bench. You never know when you're going to need them, and injuries happen. We hate it, but they do happen. If you can have that next man up mentality to come in there and do the job, it's always good to have that for a good program like Conant. If you're wondering, the Conant Cougars, they're ranked 784 nationally. For Elk Grove, they're ranked 1750. In the state, Conant is ranked 27th. Elk Grove is ranked 69th.
Seems to me like Conant's been moving up. I think when I played, I think we were definitely a lot lower, but that's good for Conant.
Yeah, pretty good year. Pretty solid competition. They lost 9-5 to Stevenson. They were in the Cougar-Saxon tournament, and they won against Hampshire 12-3, and then they beat Wheaton Warrenville South. Actually, it's a combination team of Wheaton Warrenville South and Wheaton North. They beat them 12-7. It's always interesting seeing those combination teams because you're rivals for the football games and the other sports, and then where you don't have as much enrollment numbers and participation, you have these combination hockey and lacrosse teams.
It's really awesome that they do that, though, so that girls get the opportunity to play.
It is interesting because, when I went to school, Waubonsie Valley was just the only hockey team in town.
Gotcha.
And then when the district expanded with enrollment, they built Mattia Valley. And Mattia Valley did not have enough players to have their own hockey team. So they joined up with Waubonsie Valley.
Oh wow.
But it's a big rivalry
Yep.
for basketball and football and baseball.
Gotcha.
But they have to be on the same team for hockey. So they're rivals with each other, but they're also not
Yep.
during
Two-time.
hockey practice.
2 times the fans.
What was more dreadful for you as a lacrosse player, playing in 98-degree heat or 38-degree cold?
38-degree cold, I think, for me, because, I mean, you use your hands, and when you can't feel your hands, it's hard to cradle and keep the ball in the stick, and there were a lot of drop passes when it's that cold outside, because it's hard to wear gloves, too, because you really want to have a good grip on your stick.
Yeah, you've got the lacrosse gloves, but it's different than a regular mitten or glove.
Yep.
As much as the fans love those snow football games, I don't know if the players
No.
love it as much, especially if you're a quarterback.
They have, like, heated benches now in the NFL, and, like, heaters blowing on them. They should. I hope that helps them.
Here's an interesting story. So they interviewed one of the offensive linemen during the Giants-Packers playoff game. It was at Lambeau. I think it was like -3 or -10 wind chill.
Terrible.
It was so cold, so the game went to overtime. The Packer fans were clapping for the Giants kicker to kick the field goal because they just wanted the game to end.
Yep. That's fair. I would do that, too.
That is cold. When you're rooting for the other team to win,
Yep.
to end the game.
So just get it over with.
I think I'd rather just leave the stadium
Instead of stay the whole game.
or root. I was gonna say I'd rather leave the stadium than root for the other team to
Right,
win.
true.
But they were like, it's a 32-yard field goal. He's gonna make it anyways. We're just gonna root for the Giants kicker. So they always say that Lambeau is one of the hardest places to play as an opposing player, but not that day. They were rooting for the kicker.
The fans switched up on their own team.
That is cold when you're rooting for the opposing team.
The last Conant goal was waved off, so the score is 11-0.
So they waved off the 12th goal. It is still 11-0. "25-minute halves. Realistically, for Elk Grove, you need to score in the next 2 minutes to make it somewhat of a game. Make Conant think about it a little bit.
Change the pace.
You think Stephanie Rossi's a little selfish? She wants that shutout, or she's just happy if her team wins or whatever the score is?
Shutouts are always fun because then you get to brag when you go back to school and tell all your classmates that you shut them out. So I wouldn't be surprised if she wants that shutout too.
She hasn't really been peppered much. It's been a very good defensive outing by Conant. Not a lot of shots on net. That's something else Grove's got to work on. You got to get those passes off. It's a lot easier to go down the lacrosse field with 3 passes instead of just running down and trying to go coast to coast with it. Bad pass, and it'll be Conant ball. Conant trying to maintain the shutout. They've led by as much as 12, but they waved off that goal, so it's back to 11. It's now picked up by Claire Alvarado. They are not letting Elk Grove get comfortable on offense. A lot of double teams, forcing them to pass it down the field, something that Elk Grove doesn't like to do. Good job by Jacobson and this coaching staff, getting Elk Grove out of their element, forcing them to do something else on offense. That's a live ball, by the way. Elk Grove wasn't ready for it, and Alvarado, Johnny on the spot, got that ball back. Over to Crimmins. Loose ball. After at that time was Springer. And now into the breadbasket of a Conant Cougars player. Good job calling for the pass and then receiving it. As now past midfield are the Cougars. Kristen Colbert into the game now as she leads the attack. And she was hit from behind at the last second before she get that shot on net. Suaru tries to get it on net but can't. She is just a force behind the net. Taiwu Suaru. Watch out, opposing teams. If Suaru has a full head of steam out behind the net. Suaru has already scored twice tonight. She lost it. And it's blown dead by the lone official. We'll reset. Got to stay on your mark, otherwise it's offside. We'll retry it. High on the shot attempt. As Elk Grove was deep to get it. Springer was the last woman back. But she could not get possession. It will go back to the Cougars. Taking her time. Thinking about the shot. And we'll call that a pass. But it was close to the post. So for the people doing the live stats, you could have considered that a shot. It was about 2 inches to the right of the post. Kind of those in-between passes. Well, in hockey, we do the 3 stars of the game. If we were to do the 3 stars tonight, this could be a lot worse of a game. So I think the first star would be the goalie in Stapleton, as that ball's up in the air, netted away and swatted away by Stapleton. Second star would probably be Medema. And then third star, the best player that we've seen tonight, Taiwo Suaru.
Definitely agree. Those 3 are pretty much controlling the game.
You know you have a lot of depth when your second best goal scorer in Olivia Tedness has not been needed tonight. Shot in the net. It's 12-0 in favor of the Conant Cougars, thanks to the efforts of Gabby Young. Well, we talked about that 90-degree angle shot. That was basically the 90-degree angle shot. Something that Elk Grove was trying to avoid tonight, and they haven't done so. It's now 12-0 in favor of the Cougars. Do you like dad jokes, Abby?
Go ahead.
If it's a shutout for the Cougars, one could say it's a perfect game.
Gotcha. Cougar.
Yeah.
I see. That was good. I like that one.
I've got a million of them, by the way.
Keep them going. Keep them going.
How does a tree get access to the Wi-Fi?
I'm super not witty.
By logging on, of course.
That's so good. How do you remember all of these?
When you get old like me,
No.
the humor that you used to like becomes just dad jokes.
Got it.
I'm also, a man, so dad jokes.
Fair.
There's even there's so many Twitter pages now. They even have a dad joke Twitter page.
Yep, there's Twitter pages for everything.
Now there's YouTube channels for everything. We don't even need DVR anymore. Just,
Right.
if something happened, you just go to YouTube.
Or Twitter too. Even look up the person's name, the athlete's name. It's right there.
I watch some of these old comedies like Knocked Up, and they talk about TiVo and DVR.
Yep.
And I'm like, TiVo and DVR, who does that? But the movie was made in 2007. It's not even that long ago.
It's crazy.
You try to talk to a kid today about a BlackBerry, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Nope.
You show them like videos, old episodes of like Special Victims Unit, where they're using the old phones where you had to take the keyboard.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, what is that?
How do they do that?
Do they make phones like that anymore?
Right.
Yes. Once upon a time, there was a land where we didn't have tablets. There was a thing called a VHS player. It's just so tough for Stapleton in a spot like this, right at the net, almost point blank range.
And she's definitely tired up. I mean, she's been doing this all game, too.
Just seems like every shot attempt is at that tough to save percentage. There it is, right in the net. I mean, you almost expect it when it's at point blank range.
Yep.
Fricky scores. She hasn't had to do a lot in terms of scoring goals. She mostly sets up her teammates tonight, but when they needed her, she scores there.
Number 36,
Lucky number 13, running clock for the rest of the night. This is an Elk Grove team. They've only been shut out twice. Once was to that powerhouse in Barrington, and their last game, one they'd like to have back. Fremd, a good program, but not as good as Barrington. They got shut out 20-0. Next game, it'll be their last game of the season according to MaxPreps.com. It'll be back here at Elk Grove tomorrow night against Buffalo Grove. Battle of the Groves.
That's so nice they get to play back-to-back games at home.
Good pass over that time to Withers. She's wide open in front and just couldn't handle the pass at first. Gonna try it again. Budaka. Loose ball. Withers picks up the ground ball. Back and forth we go. Loose ball again. Finally picked up by Conant.
Again.
Ring around the rosy with the ball. Shot saved by Stapleton. Second try. Stapleton again. Great saves by Stapleton, Abby, but you'd like to see some help from her defense. Wide open in front of the net was the Cougars.
2 times in a row, too.
Playing with fire. Eventually you'll get burned. Sideline over to the Cougars' end.
Doesn't seem like either team is slowing down, though.
I like that because shot in the net. Withers scores again. 14-0 for the Cougars. I like that, though, because, Conant's going to play teams in the state finals that like to speed things up, run and gun. You got to get used to that. You want to play the way that you practice, obviously, but there's going to be times you want to run and gun because if somebody falls down on the play, you have an odd woman rush.
Exactly, yep.
You got to, but if you're not used to playing like that, if you always like to play, and I can't say half court, but half field style, and you don't ever play run and gun, you're not going to, know what to do in an instance in the state playoffs where it's single elimination and you got to score on that possession to win the game.
Probably a nice break for both teams that they're doing all this large sub right now.
Yep. Every team makes the regional. Wouldn't that be something if Elk Grove does not win tonight or tomorrow, but their only win was the regional opener? Your only win of the season was a playoff game. That would be something.
It would.
Elk Grove trying to avoid the shutout. Leading the attack is Flynn. Flynn shot! And it's blown dead. You'd hate to get shut out on senior night. And a golden opportunity coming up for the Grenadiers. Delaney Flynn. She's got some green turf ahead of her if she can get it on net quickly. Flynn shot, big time save by Rossi. Maintaining the shutout. She's got a good goaltending coach in Lex Alcantara. This is a coaching staff along with Samantha Jacobson, who played her college lacrosse at Kalamazoo College. Another goal for the Cougars. They are pouring it on in a big way. 16-0.
Sam's an amazing lacrosse player too, and just an amazing person in general. So that's again, Conant's lucky to have her too. That's awesome.
Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, she missed almost her entire junior season at Kalamazoo College, most of her senior year. So she decided to make up for lost time and started coaching in the spring of 2021. And she really liked coaching. She said that was the first time she felt like herself again. She realized getting back into coaching could help the program. And she said it was kind of a blessing in disguise with the pandemic, and it all happened to me when it did, and she's glad that it happened. Because she never knew she would have liked coaching if she had lost those games due to the pandemic. Now, you probably know this, Abby, but did you know that Jim Brown was so good at men's lacrosse, they had to change the rules?
That's so awesome. I did not know that.
You did not know that?
What was the rule that they changed? Do you know?
I'm sure if you Google it,
It would come up.
we're talking about Jim Brown, the Hall of Fame football player. He won the Heisman Trophy at Syracuse.
Okay.
And in his downtime, because at that time, freshmen couldn't play on the varsity football team.
Okay.
So in his freshman year, he played a lot of lacrosse, not so much his sophomore, junior year. He was so good, they had to change the rules.
That's awesome.
So we always talk about some of the greatest athletes and some of the greatest football players. And I get why we say Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But just on an athletic standpoint, he was so good at lacrosse. It wasn't even his best sport, by the way.
He's a Hall of Famer in football. Wow.
He was so good at lacrosse, they had to change the rules.
I'm really curious what that rule is. That's so awesome.
This is he played in the 50s at Syracuse. And of course, women's lacrosse, that's one of Northwestern's best sports, if not their best sport.
Yes. I've been to a few of their games, and it's insane. It's like, you think that this is fast, like, watch those college level games, it's insane. You don't even know where the ball is half the time.
For people that aren't familiar with the game of lacrosse, how tough is it not just to catch the ball, but to keep it in that pocket so that you don't lose it as you're running down the field?
Yeah, you gotta have really strong, like, wrist strength, like, in order to cradle hard enough to keep, like, the physics of it so that it stays in there. It's boys are lucky they have a deeper pocket, but the girls' pocket is super.
Good save by Stapleton. So for Elk Grove, what they got to work on defense, we're seeing too many breakaways, too many clean shots on net. What do they have to work on defense to get better body position on the opposing player?
I think that because if Conant, it seems like Conant is a little bit faster than them, which that happens to teams all the time, but they got to stay back on defense and not let the long passes go over their heads. I feel like that's where they're missing. Like right now, there's a few Conant lacrosse players behind the Elk Grove players, and that's not good.
Good steal that time by Springer. Ugh. Sometimes when it rains, it pours. That's what happened to Elk Grove right now. They had a chance for a breakaway. Crimmins called for it, but she went one way and the ball went the other, and usually that doesn't lead to receiving the pass. Okay, good things happening for Elk Grove on this possession. Leading the attack is Alvarado. Sends it over to Flynn. Conant a little bit staggered on defense, either tired or maybe a little bit complacent, as we didn't see as much energy on defense right before the official blew it dead. They did not give us the last name for the official, so either she's Madonna and she only goes by by one name, or she's just, for this game, she's only going by Emily. But stolen away by Conant. Here comes Charlotte Stanton. Trying to score her first goal of the year, and she does! And you could sense that that was her stat line, as a round of applause from her teammates, a lot of screaming and shouting. They know that's not her bread and butter scoring, but she does on that play. 16-0.
Surprised that was her first one because she placed it really well in the net.
Guess she's been practicing.
Right.
If you're so good at defense, you don't have to practice your defense anymore. So in your downtime, you practice offense. It's not how many you score, it's when you score them.
Exactly.
Don't quote me on this, but I believe the 1983 NCAA championship game, so Houston won by 2 points,
Wow.
and Lorenzo Charles got the slam dunk to win it. I believe those were his only 2 points of the game. Don't quote me on that. So if you want to, go on Google or basketballreference.com. But he did. I know he scored less than 10 that night.
A slam dunk is just cool.
That's how they won the national championship, at the buzzer on a slam dunk.
Wow.
And they were like an 8-point underdog. Just those 1 in a million type of thing of sports you don't think will ever happen, but anything can happen in a sporting event. It's cool how women's soccer that's a shot on net right in front on Stapleton. Good save by Stapleton. But it's cool how women's lacrosse has gained popularity.
Mm-hmm.
We now have the National Women's Soccer League.
Mm-hmm.
It would be kind of cool, what kind of professional women's lacrosse leagues that we get now that men's lacrosse leagues are starting to happen throughout the country. Injury timeout. As a little bit shaken up is Eden Kolaric. As they will stop the clock at 6:03. It's been a fun one. See if Elk Grove can at least score once to not get shut out on senior night.
Yeah, hopefully a senior gets that goal because make their senior night.
So even if the freshman is wide open in front of that,
Yeah, no, seniors, no.
you gotta pass.
You gotta pass.
But I'm wide open. No, you're not a senior. You can't score.
Assists are just as important than a goal, so hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, in hockey, you get a trophy for most points.
Yeah.
So, you keep tacking on those assists. That's, what made Wayne Gretzky so great, not just the goal scoring, but the assists as well. Did you prefer to play lacrosse on grass or turf?
Definitely turf. Ground balls on the grass are so hard. It also, if there's like any sort of mini divot in the grass, the ball's going a completely different opposite direction, and that tires you out even more.
Because we've seen a couple of injuries.
Yeah.
That's the one issue with turf, is it's more susceptible to injuries. Now, that's assuming that you take care of the grass. If you're not watering it and mowing it, it's just as bad as turf. But yeah, knee injuries, a little bit more common on turf than grass. But we saw, Foley, she was holding that right knee, and that was slow to get up player for the Grenadiers. As she gets up on her own accord, you love to see it. As 17, Sierra Crimmins. Her day is most likely done, but she is going to go to the golf cart on her own accord. And hopefully she'll be all ready to go and feeling better to go golfing tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have better. It's been better since this morning. It was
Yeah.
rainy and bad this morning, and now it's kind of like perfect
Dreary.
baseball
Yep.
and golf and lacrosse weather. Ideally 75. Then there's like
Yeah.
there are people where they're just never like happy with the weather.
Yep.
Though I think that day is like that's perfect for those type of
Right?
people.
It's not, yes.
Like there are people where it's 75
And they're
it's
complaining
too hot
it's too
for
hot.
them.
Yep.
I'm like, come on now. For me, you can't complain about the heat unless it's over 95.
Right.
I'm one of
The
those
sun
people.
the sun feels nice. I love the sun too.
But I get like if you're an athlete, I think this is like perfect weather.
Yes, for sure.
And then if you're a catcher in baseball, this is absolutely perfect
Yeah.
weather. Wearing the gear all 7 innings.
The gear, I can't imagine wearing like layers and layers of gear. Like I'm glad it's protective, but that would be so uncomfortable. Like football pads and the helmets seems like too much to me, but obviously they have to.
That's why we don't play football in July. I used to be a broadcaster down in Louisiana, and they have spring football because
Yep.
they just live and breathe football
Yep.
down there. Mm-hmm. It gets so hot, even in March. Mm-hmm. Every quarter, there's a water break. They just
Good.
stop, and they just stop, and they just have water breaks. Like the officials and the
Good.
coaches
Everyone.
are having every water with each other. It's just that is like extreme hotness down in
Yeah.
the south. Something you'll never see up north.
No. Turf also gets a lot hotter than grass because
Yeah.
when you're standing on the turf, you can like feel the heat reflecting off of it.
Yeah, you see a lot of maneuvering by this Conant offense. And for Elk Grove, you'd like to see them, maintain their composure, get in a good stance. When you're on your back foot, it's easier for Conant to go past you. So get in that nice basketball athletic stance. Something we haven't seen all night for Elk Grove. We see it at times, but sometimes they look out of position.
Yeah.
And that's, it's not the big things
No. Yep.
that are the difference between a 9-8 and 0-8 team. It's little things like that. One team is always in an athletic position,
Ready to go.
whereas Elk Grove, they're putting too much emphasis on their dominant leg instead of both legs. Great move, shot in the net. Conant strikes again. Mackenzie Medema. I mean, shot like that, Abby Stapleton has no chance.
Number
Yeah.
25, Charlotte Stanton.
If you're making a save like that, you're getting Division I
Right.
college offers.
Exactly. Yeah. The Conant girl that just scored, she beat 2 defenders, so that's tough.
Lacrosse is cool too because the Ivy League is good at it.
Yep.
Although we saw in men's basketball, Princeton made it to the Sweet 16, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like the most viewed sports, football and basketball,
Yep.
the Ivy League kind of gets dominated. But it's like when you watch lacrosse, the Ivy League, they can compete with the
Yes.
ACC. Lacrosse is the Ivy League sport, just as it is other schools.
The gear's pretty expensive, so maybe that makes sense. I don't know. Is that a correlation? Seems like because her stick, when she went to check or do the slash, it fell out of her hand, which you get a yellow card for that. So she'll be out of the game.
Can't throw your stick at people.
Nope.
Well, you can, but it's cheating. Shot.
Wow.
Back in. Oh, what a save by Stapleton. Let's see what the call is. At first, it looked like it was into the back of the net. Then the Conant players were cheering, and it looks like it indeed is a goal, even though Stapleton landed with the ball. They're going to say it went past the end line
Goal for Conant, number
right before
36,
Stapleton got it.
Walasinski.
So time running out for Elk Grove to score at least once. 3:24 remaining, 18-0 lead. What can Elk Grove learn as they go into tomorrow's season finale against Buffalo Grove?
I know sometimes it hurts your feelings when you're a player that gets on a team that gets blown out, and you can't take everything personally. So hopefully they go in with a fresh perspective on how they're going to play and not feel like they are going to do horrible, or like not feel like they're going to get blown out again. So a fresh start is always good. So they just need to go into their next game with a new perspective.
Loose ball up in the air, and it's swatted away by the Conant Cougars. And if Conant wants, they can just play a little keep away. They don't have to score any more goals. But they're maintaining their attack. Wide open is Suaru, and I love the sportsmanship. She had a wide open shot. She knows that they're pretty much more talented than Elk Grove. We're just going to run clock and no need to score a 19th goal tonight. Love the sportsmanship there.
Coach Jacobson is super big on sportsmanship, so
You'll never see in high school lacrosse teams running up the score unless it's a tournament. Because they try to get away that though from these tournaments. Before, one of the tiebreakers was goals scored, goals for.
It was, yep.
Now they get rid of that. The first tiebreaker is goal differential, then goals against.
Yep.
Then head-to-head tiebreakers. You usually don't have the goals for in lacrosse tournaments until the fourth or fifth tiebreaker.
Yeah.
For that reason, so that teams aren't running up the score. I still remember that 2002 World Series where the Giants won 16-4 in Game 5. So they were up 3-2. They were 1 game away from winning the World Series. Then they lost their last 2 games. So it's really not. It's not how many goals or how many runs or goals you score. You got to finish the job. Nobody really cares how much you blew out a team. It's just can you finish the job and get the title. Under a minute to go, and if Conant wants, they can just hold the ball, a couple of passes, and they will be the victor with an impressive shutout victory. So if Stephanie Rossi wanted the shutout, she is going to get it. As Rossi, the senior, Stefania Rossi, give you her stats in a second here. She's had a pretty good year. Save percentage over 48% coming into tonight. Goals against average of 7.9. 88 goals against, so it'll remain at 88 as they go into their next match. For the Conant Cougars, their biggest win streak all year is 3. If they win against Lake Zurich and Naperville Central, they would finish the year on a 4-game winning streak. As that will do it for the match. 18-0 win for the young women from Hoffman Estates and Schaumburg. 18-0 win for Conant. It was all Cougars tonight. We were hoping that Elk Grove could keep it close, but just too much of Taiwo, Suaru, and the rest of this Conant offense.
Yeah, the Cougars dominated, but the Elk Grove girls really didn't give up. So I'm impressed with both teams tonight.
Final thoughts before we end the broadcast?
That's a good way to end your MSL season, the regular season, and I hope the Cougars have fun in the playoffs too.
So for our excellent crew, for Scott Mayernack, Debbie Dennison, and Abby DeSalva, I'm Kyle Smith signing off. An 18-0 win for the Conant Cougars, and we'll see you next time on Elk Grove Television Sports.